Did you know that every step you take with this foot, a heel, arch, big toe sequence of events, supination, pronation, is actually initiated and maintained by a circuit in the spine called a central pattern generator. And this central pattern generator allows our body to move through cycles of flexion and extension, which allows for spinal rotation and allows our feet to move us forward. Now, sometimes this central pattern generator, because of human asymmetry, which is really, really important, gets a little bit thrown off. So the rhythmic activity becomes less rhythmic as we spend more time over on our right side. At the end of the video, I'm going to show a postural restoration technique that I'm going to put in the context of how to reset a central pattern generator of the spine and feet and hips that has become arrhythmic, that's become offbeat because you're spending too much time on your right side. Now, what is a central pattern generator? I'm going to read a definition. It is a neural circuit that can produce rhythmic patterned activity without requiring sensory input or feedback from higher brain areas. So basically, it just needs to be stimulated electrically. Now, they know this because, unfortunately, with animals, they can pretty much take away all the higher parts of the brain. They just cut it. So they don't have the cerebellum, the higher order areas, the cortical areas, and just leave the brain stem area. And they know that they can actually stimulate movement just by stimulating the brain stem. And I think they could even take the brain stem away and just stimulate a lower area that will just that exists in the spinal cord, and still movement will occur. Now, of course, it's important to realize that there's more than one central pattern generator. We have them for speech, for chewing, obviously for locomotion, for walking. Now, the important thing to remember is that when we're talking about upright activity, upright walking, humans are not symmetrical. We are asymmetrical. We are right side dominant. So as this shows, equal sharing of body weight would place the body vector through center of the support area. However, in reality, the normal quiet standing posture tends to be shifted slightly to the right of midline. That's just because of how the left brain is the dominant side of the brain when it comes to posture. And it also comes to the fact that we have this bigger right diaphragm. So all these things added up means we are right dominant. So our brain needs to figure out where we are first, and that's called orientation. And that's the determination of the relative position of something or someone, basically you. So your ability to move forward with a central pattern generator, without compensation, without strain, first requires orientation based off of an asymmetric body. When humans become too right dominant, which the Postural Restoration Institute calls the left AIC, right BC, right TMCC pattern, just means humans like to hang out over on the right side. If that persists for too long, now the central pattern generator becomes overly patterned on the right, meaning we will spend too much time on our right side and not enough time on our left side as we walk, because our pelvis has, over on my right side, here I am, I need to get over to my left side. Left hip, that's left hip extension with right hip flexion. That means you go to your left side. That becomes challenged in a patterned person who becomes too right dominant. So now our whole rhythmic, it's supposed to be rhythmic, our normal rhythmic central pattern generating locomotion no longer happens 100%. We kind of get on our left leg, but because the pelvis never turns that way fully, because we're stuck in a pattern over on the right, things break down. And now we start to move with strain, with pain, with muscle pain, joint pain. It can show up in your knees, your hips, your feet, your neck. Doesn't really matter. But that's what postural restoration is trying to fix, is to reestablish normal rhythmic locomotive activity. Now, here's a very basic schematic of the whole process. You have these areas up in the brain and also the inner ear. So one is the reticulospinal tract that starts in the brainstem, and the other is the vestibulospinal tract. It starts in the inner ear and the cerebellum, which is our major movement and balance centers. Basically, they're responsible for upright posture and locomotion. There are other tracts also, but these are two of the primary ones and the ones I'm going to be talking about for the from the context of this, this video. These spinal tracts, these brain to spine tracts, then interact with the spinal generators within the spine to produce these cycles of flexion and extension. So what that would look like. When I go onto my right leg, here's my right, my pelvis comes forward on the left and back on the right. So that's a left leg that's in, a left hip that's in flexion and a right hip that's in extension. Flexion, extension. That's how we are when we're over on our right side. That equates with right stance and left swing phase of walking. Flexion is swing, extension is stance. This is right stance. Now, we have to get to the left side, so we have to flip it. The right side has to come into flexion, and the left side has to come into extension as our feet are moving, obviously, as we're heel striking. This is what gets challenged when humans are stuck over on their right side. We can't get left hip extension, and until you can get full, not partial, full left hip extension, the research will tell you, and I have the research right here, until you can get full left hip extension and full loading on the left leg, the right leg cannot swing forward. So we have when we're stuck in a pattern, we actually have a swing phase issue. If you get stuck on your right side and you can't fully get left hip extension on the left, the right leg cannot swing forward. And this is because of it can't swing forward properly, so it never unloads completely. So even when you're on your left leg, your pelvis is still oriented to the right a little bit. It means you're not really on your left leg, and thus the right leg can't swing forward. So now this cycle of extension and flexion, which also have to happen in the arms, but I'm not really going to talk about them today. The arms, well, actually, I'm going to talk about them a little bit in regards to the right arm, but regardless, until you can unload the right leg completely and get to the left leg completely and get your left hip to come back into extension completely and load the left leg completely, you cannot go through a normal phase of swing because you never truly get stance on the left side. So how do these spinal tracts influence the actual cycles of flexion and extension? Well, through muscles. Hip flexors flex, and then hamstrings and glutes extend. So you have the psoas, so they come down through this lumbar sacral area, and you have L1, L2, L3, that's the origin of the psoas muscle, and the psoas and the hip and the other hip flexors, which are all in this area, but they start to go down into the sacral area also. The hip flexors produce hip flexion, which is swing phase. Then you have the hamstrings. And the hamstrings have their origin in L4 to S3. So here's down the sacrum, so it's going to be the lower back area, lower back and then sacrum, lumbar spine and sacrum. They are controlled by the sciatic nerve. The sciatic nerve is huge. I think it's the longest nerve in the body. It's definitely, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the longest nerve in the body. It's really, really big. It's a giant. But that sciatic nerve also travels all the way down to the feet, but it branches off. So what you'll see is that the sciatic nerve runs down the back of the leg, and then it branches off into the fibular nerve and the tibial nerve. And then the fibular nerve and tibular nerve, there you see the tibial nerve keeps going down. You'll see if you follow the pink, it goes down towards the inside of the foot, which is going to lead to the arch and the big toe. And you will see here it branches, the tibial nerve then branches into the medial plantar nerve, and the medial plantar nerve will, for our purposes of this video where I show how touching someone's foot can turn off or turn on hip flexors, it will innervate the skin, the plantar surfaces of the arch of the big foot, the arch of the foot and the big toe of the foot. Now again, and I'll get to that, why that's not symmetric either, and it comes back to asymmetry. So those are the nerves that control the muscles that will influence these central pattern generators. So here's the schematic again, and all I did this time was add in heel, arch, big toe, because that's what you're going to see in the videos and I'm about to show. As sensory input comes up, it's ascending from when someone's coming from the feet, which are interacting with the ground, that is coming up from the ground. But it's also, there's a lot of sensory input obviously coming from the visual system and in your ear and the ear itself. I'm not going to talk about that, but there is plenty of research. There's a gigantic research. It's so big, and you can get it on the internet. It's so big that my stapler couldn't even staple it, so I had to put it into 3 different parts. It's called Dynamic Sensory Motor Interactions in Locomotion. And now there's another one called, smaller, Effects of Ankle and Hip Muscle Inputs on Rhythm Generation During Fictive Locomotion. This is just, and then there's functional neuroanatomy for posture and gait control. This research is basically just saying, it's just explaining how this whole process works out. And for the purpose of this video, why the plantar surfaces of the feet, or the bottom of the feet, the soles of the feet, and then also the proprioceptive activity of the ankle. So the muscles, the ankle, the muscles that surround the ankle are feeding the brain a lot of information. So when a foot does not go through a cycle of heel, arch, big toe, the brain is not getting sensory input or stimulation underneath the skin. Really, really important for the vestibular system, for your upright balance system, for your brain to figure out where you are and what you're going, where you're going. It needs to sense a cycle of heel, arch, big toe. Heels give hamstrings, arches start to give glutes, and big toes will give glute medius to push you so that you can turn your pelvis in the opposite direction. Without that sequence of events, the whole system breaks down, and what happens? We get tight. We extend, our pelvis comes forward, our back gets tight, and our head and neck will often come forward also. So feet are extremely important, and I've already talked about this numerous times, that the idea that minimalist shoes are not giving you that. If you have an arch, and you're going to see again why today, you're going to see in these videos, the human foot is multidimensional. It was built to work on multidimensional earth, but most of us live on flat floors. Flat floors are not good for, flat floors are threatening to a multidimensional foot because it's unstable now. If this multidimensional foot ended up on real earth, oh, that's stability. Unevenness, oddly enough, uneven ground is stable. Flat floors are not stable. So if you especially have a high arch or flat, when people have medium arches, they're in a better position. High arches and flat feet are both extreme and not good. Both are threats to the brain, and people are more likely to be really patterned and tight in that situation, especially if they don't have proper footwear. And that really means, for this purpose of this video, is non-minimalist. Here's a normal pair of left AIC pattern feet. You'll see the right foot is more supinated and the left foot is more pronated. That equates with going over onto your right side. My left arch comes down, activates a left glute to push me to the right. I'm at heel strike on the right side, so the right foot is in a more supinated position. That would give me a right hamstring. That's why humans are going to always sense the right hamstring, or have the right hamstring more available to them than the left, because of this inherent pattern of asymmetry that's already built inside us. That's why the right foot the right heel does not need more right heel input. It already has too much of it because you're already over there. It needs right arch and right big toe. The left foot needs left heel. You just need to flip it. To get over onto the left side, you have to flip that picture. You have to pronate the right foot, which means right arch, and you have to supinate the left foot, which means left heel. That will bring your pelvis over to the left. That sequence of events has to occur for somebody to get off of their right side, to get out of this left AIC, right BC pattern. And the technique at the end of the video is a demonstration of how that works. You're still going to remain over on your right side. So that is a normal, when people come in and I see their feet like that, I don't care, completely normal. It's a normal pattern for a right dominant human. So when someone loses the sense of the ground underneath their right arch because they're over on their right side, they're in a supinated position, they no longer pronate the right foot. Their brain never senses pronation because there's nothing to touch the foot underneath the arch of the right foot. Now, that means they can't transition over to their left side. So it's going to end up with a right leg that does not abduct. It will not go up high enough. And you're going to see how I change someone's abduction, which means the right inner thigh, the right adductor is overactive, how I can inhibit or turn off that right over thigh activity simply by giving them a little bit of paper towel underneath the arch of the right foot. Okay, so this is his abduction without the paper towel. He has minimalist shoes. Nothing to him. Now I put a little paper towel inside the arch, and that's how much he has. His right leg is free. He would now be able to exit his right side, and now you're going to see how much he had. That's it. That's all it took, was that little bit of paper towel underneath the arch of his right, because remember, he had minimalist shoes on. His brain was senseless. His central pattern generators completely broke down. He's stuck on his right because his brain never sensed anything underneath the arch of the right foot, which is the cue to transition over to the left side. Now you're going to see what happens when I change the sensory input to a left heel. The left hip flexors will turn off. So this individual, I'm just going to test him, and he's never done PRI before. His left leg cannot adduct, which means his left hip flexors are, his left leg is stuck in swing phase of walking. His hip flexors are overactive. His neck is fine, so I know this will work. He puts a little heel cup, rubber heel cup on it. And because the heel cup on the left is now a little bit stronger than what he's getting through his right foot, he adducts no problem. So his swing phase just turned off. He would finally, his hip flexors on the left, his psoas on the left, relaxed because I gave him heel sense, not underneath, not, this is important, not underneath the heel, around the edges where these really important sensory nerves are. That turned off, again, with minimalist shoes, you're not getting that, it's too soft. So that turned off his hip flexors immediately on the left. It inhibited his left IAC pattern. So the combination of a right arch and a left heel is what will establish neutrality for a pelvis to be able to get off the right. So you got right arch, bringing the right hip forward, left heel, bring the left hip back, results in, well, that won't, using just those little tools will not result in full hip extension on the left. It will not pull the left hip back. It's just going to get him to neutral. The technique that I'm going to show at the end actually starts to how to use that, how to use these sensory inputs to finally bring the left hip back. So that's how that works. Now watch what happens when I give him too much, when I give him right heel sense, which he does not need more of. Okay, so watch what happens when I give him more right heel activity. So his hip flexors, he's still relaxed 10 minutes later, but now I'm going to put the heel cup on his right heel. And when his brain senses more right heel sensory input, he locks up. His left hip locks up again. He's stuck in swing phase over on that left side again. He's stuck over on his right side. That's what the test tells you. His brain said, oh, that's the drug I love. It's called the right side. That's why working on your right side doesn't make sense unless you have a left side established first, or at least partially. Because some people are just working on their right side because that's kind of a different way of looking at things. But it makes no sense neurologically because you have two hemispheres of the brain. When you're on your right side and you're just arching your left lower back even more because you're on your right side, yeah, it doesn't mean your right side is working properly, but you're over there. Neurologically, your brain's going to put you there no matter what. If you work on your right side, that's more left hemisphere activity. We don't need more left hemisphere activity. We need more right hemisphere activity because that's the areas of the brain that are incorporating all of the sensory input, all the orientation input. When that area of the brain is not being stimulated because you're never on your left side, things start to go wrong. To restore central pattern generating rhythmic activity, you have to have two sides. So what you do is get off of your right side, get onto your left, establish a stable left stance, establish left hip extension with a left hamstring and a left adductor, and then eventually left glute medius. So you get left hip extension, then you teach your right leg how to swing forward, which will require a glute and a glute medius. But you're already over on your right. Working more on your right is just going to unground you more, and it's going to cause nervous system it can cause some pretty funky experiences with your nervous system at that point. Now I showed this video previously, but I'm just going to show how I can turn on my friend's hip flexors and turn them off just by touching certain areas of her foot, which the research is saying will happen, that when certain parts of the foot, the arch, the heel, or the toe, when those nerves are stimulated by the skin, by touching the skin, you can restart a central pattern generator, or you can reset it. So again, effectively all I'm doing is playing with the central pattern generators through sensory input through the feet, which I'm turning on hip flexors and turning them off. So you're going to see what happens. So she is neutral to begin with, no problem. All I'm going to do then is I'm going to stimulate the inside of her left heel, not the outside, the inside. Her left foot doesn't need more inside. It already has too much, and it locked her up. Her hip flexors turned on. Now I'm going to touch the outside of her left heel, what she needs more of. Hip flexors are off. Then what am I going to do next? I think I go to her right heel, inside or outside. I think it was the wrong part. And then I go to her right arch. Oh, I did her right heel, so I turned on her left hand, her left hip flexors. Then I'm doing the arch of her right foot, and no problem. So that's why right arch and left heel are so important. Right arch to get the right hip coming forward, left heel to get the left hip coming back. That has to now be equated with hamstring activity on the left, and then eventually right glute activity on the right. And the technique that I'm going to show now basically simulates that, but it's going to then put it with actual muscle function of the hamstring, which then will keep that left hip flexor off. If you're new to this channel, I am a credentialed Posture Restoration Institute provider in Chatham, New Jersey. That's where I do my in-person sessions. I also do some online consulting. The links are in the description. This entire channel is about human asymmetry, movement, and the science of posture restoration. And the only way people can know about this is if you like it, share it, comment, or subscribe. So I'd appreciate if you could do any of those. Thanks. Now, this is a Postural Restoration Institute technique called the 90-90 hip lift with right arm reach and balloon. Now, I'm not going to talk about the balloon today, but it just helps with the breathing process to help with the left diaphragm. But a lot of people think of these techniques or these as exercises, and they're really not exercises. They are neuro-brain sensory techniques for your brain to relearn how to use your left side or to use both sides properly. Remember, you're stuck on your right. You're overusing the right. That's your dominant side. You have to learn how to get to your left. And the first step in doing that is relearning how to use the arch of the right foot and heel of the left foot to get your pelvis to turn to the left. Now, this is not going to have a hip shift, but because you're picking your pelvis up and you're sensing the left heel, which is equated with the left hamstring, and an arch of the right foot that is equated with getting off of your right side, you're still biasing your left side. You're still biasing learning how to get to first get to your left side before you get full left hip extension. It's a beginning technique. It's something you use for beginners who are patterned over on their right side or maybe on both sides, maybe their pelvis is forward on both sides. It's not an entire program. There's a sequence of events that have to occur, to go through a full posture restoration program. But this is something, if you look at it from this perspective, encompasses everything that I just talked about in this video. So the starting position, notice I have a ball between my knees. That is because I'm going to squeeze the ball with my left knee, which will give my brain a sense of left adductor. Left adductor has to turn on when our pelvis is turned to the left to be truly on our left leg. I'm wearing sneakers. You have to wear sneakers, and they have to have a strong heel. I cannot emphasize this enough because you have to pull down your left heel into the back of the shoe so your brain can feel that stimulation around the edges of the heel, not underneath necessarily. You want both, but around the edges is even more important. That's the starting position. Arch of the right foot, heel of the left, ball between the knees. So when I pick my butt up, I'm already neurologically, my brain is saying, oh, I'm not going to be paying attention to my right heel. You want me on my left heel? Okay, I'll do that, and it'll reorient you back to center, providing you do the technique properly. And there's other issues of vision, jaw, teeth, but that's for other videos that would prevent this from working. But one other thing, you're going to see my right arm reach as I breathe. Why is that? Because it turns out, surprise, surprise, or not so surprising, arm swing asymmetry in overground walking. Left arms swing more than right arms. There you go. Hopefully you can see that. All right, completely normal. Left arms like to swing, right arms don't swing as much. Why? Because we're over on our right. The right arm has to come forward to move us to our left. But because we never move to the left as effectively as we move to the right, or let's put it this way, we never move effectively to the left as effectively as we stay on our right. If the right arm doesn't get to push us to the left because we're overly patterned on the right arm does not swing. So this technique has a right arm reaching up towards the ceiling to assist in spinal rotation to the left. So your pelvis and spine can rotate to the left and establish that left-sided position as you then breathe and feel your left hamstring and your left adductor which then start to reset that central pattern generator through vestibular sense, through sense through the feet, through those tracks of nerve fibers that give your brain an understanding of where you are and what you're doing, where the ground is and what your ankle is doing. It's giving all that information up to the vestibular system so it can make the correct decisions on how to move you. Okay, so you'll see, I'm going to pick my butt up. That posteriorly tilts the pelvis. That puts my hamstrings in a position that they can be felt. Left heel, right arch. I'm only going to be feeling my left hamstring and my left inner thigh. As I exhale, I reach my right arm up. I inhale through my nose. I exhale, and I reach my right arm forward. The right arm forward puts me more on my left, and then I just stay there and breathe. I'm feeling my left hamstring, my left inner thigh, my left lower back is staying flat on the floor, and now you're just going to see it from the back. Left heel, right arch, squeezing with my left knee only. I have my left hamstring and I have my left adductor. My right hamstring is on, although I'm not feeling it. It has to be on because I'm in the position that I'm in, but I'm biasing my left side. And you'll see as my right arm, as I exhale, I reach my right arm forward. I pause for 5 seconds after the exhalation. Left heel, left heel, left heel. If you do not sense your left heel, this will not work. So I would not have anyone do it barefoot in the beginning. And that's it. So you do 5 breaths, or however long it takes to blow up a balloon. You inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, pause 5 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep sensing your left heel. Do not lose sense of your left heel. Otherwise, the technique cannot work. If you do not feel your left hamstring closer to your butt, that's the objective, not behind the knee. But if you don't feel your left hamstring at all, or nothing feels right, you feel your back, you feel your quads, you feel your neck, you're not ready for this technique. It's too hard for you. That's why this is not easy stuff. That then goes for any other exercises that you're trying to do. You'll exercise, but are you really using the right muscles? If you can't feel a left hamstring in the most basic position, the easiest position to feel left hamstring up close to the butt, and you can't feel it, do you think you're actually doing gym exercises with the appropriate muscles? I think it's probably doubtful. But anyway, that is central pattern generators, that is spinal rotation, that is arm swing, and that is how the whole system operates, supposed to operate in a rhythmic side-to-side activity.